Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the 1,775 poems of Emily Dickinson contained in the Johnson edition. We turned out to poem 41, I Robbed the Woods. This is one of my favorite early poems in her collection. I love it for so many reasons. I think her celebration of nature is clearly there. She, of course, along with Emerson and Thoreau, love to do this, as well as Whitman. But I love this poem because it has so much to say about giving, about receiving, about generosity. Now, our assumptions are that you've been with us from the very beginning here at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've had some exposure to our introductory set of lectures. For example, Emily is pedagogue or is teacher. I think there's some of that going on here, no question. And then we've been working up through poem 40, When I Count. Now, Emily had a very interesting relationship to nature. As we've already commented, she loved to sit in the garden and the like. Her sister Venny is purported to have said about Emily and herself, when we were little children, we used to spend entire days in the woods hunting for treasures. I love that. Me and my children and now grandchildren, we love to call it looking for artifacts. But you go out into nature and you ask, what is it that I can find there? And of course, the whole notion of discovery, the whole notion of hide and seek is available. Now, just to set you up here for background information, hemlock is a poison, and we're familiar with it because, of course, 399 BCE, Socrates drinks his hemlock shake because he spent too much time in Athens. But hemlock is also an American fir tree, and here when hemlock gets used, it's going to be referenced that way. Watch her word choice. I love it. I love the irony of it. I robbed the woods, the trusting woods, the unsuspecting trees, brought out their burrs and mosses, my fantasy to please. I scanned their trinkets curious, I grasped and bore away. What will the solemn hemlock, what will the oak tree say? Now the ironies here and the humor here is so present. I love this poem for so many reasons. I mean, her tone of voice is just brilliant in this little poem. Notice the word choice. First of all, she says, I robbed the woods. What are you talking about? So she is what? Going in and cutting down all the... No. We're not saying that at all. Notice her use of the word robbed is here really more in play. In other words, I took things from the woods. Treasures, as Venny would refer to it. Notice it was the trusting woods, the unsuspecting trees. It's almost as if she's dancing with nature as she goes through this process. She brought out burrs and mosses. In other words, I brought out artifacts to remind me of my walk in the woods. My fantasy to please. In other words, it was all about what I wanted in regards to my taking from the woods and especially from the trees. I scanned their trinkets is her word. We would say treasures, right? Curious. In other words, I was curious. I think that's the key word. And to me, that's one of the key words in all of our study of Emily is this word, curious. That's what makes Emily the true genius that she is. She has this unbounded capacity of curiosity, which obviously we would all love to possess as well. I grasp as opposed to robbed. I bore away as opposed to robbed, right? So notice three different ways she says, I basically stole it. And then it's the irony, it's the fun of asking, what will the solemn hemlock say? Much has been made of this use of the adjective solemn. In other words, is she suggesting the trees and the woods are unhappy with her for doing this, or are they more neutral? What will the oak tree say? I love it that, of course, she can personify these trees as somehow capable of having feelings or emotions about whatever it is that she's taken out of the woods. It's this symbiotic, wonderful, almost like pal's relationship that she wants to have with nature and with the trees. And of course, those of us who love to take walks on the hills and sometimes will come away with an artifact, as we will call it in my family, these treasures, they can be, for us, long after the fact, a beautiful memory of the walk through the woods. Whitman obviously commenting on this, right? A staff cut from the woods, he will say in Song of Myself 46, I know I have the best of time and space passage. We've given full lectures, of course, on all of that at learnstrong.net. What am I going to say at 2a? I think she's arguing that nature, when well understood and danced with, is full of treasures, full of these trinkets, as she will call it. I love her word choice at 2b. I love that she uses the word robbed. It's kind of like alarming at first, right? At 3A, we think of course, Thoreau's celebration of trees in Walden. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net over all of that text. And I think that Emily's audience, for sure, would be very quickly to play the game of Acts 20:35. It's more blessed to give than to receive. I'd love to take us right now, though, to Gurban's The Prophet, and to the famous passage on giving. And because we have a few moments, let's just enjoy reading it. Then said a rich man, "Speak to us of giving." And he answered, "You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. For what are your possessions but things you keep and guard for fear you may need them tomorrow? And tomorrow, what shall tomorrow bring to the overprudent dog burying bones in the trackless sand as he follows the pilgrims to the holy city? And what is fear of need but need itself? Is not dread of thirst when your well is full, the thirst that is unquenchable? There are those who give little of the much which they have, and they give it for recognition, and their hidden desire makes their gifts unwholesome. And there are those who have little and give it all. These are the believers in life and the bounty of life, and their coffer is never empty. There are those who give with joy, and that joy is their reward. And there are those who give with pain, and that pain is their baptism. And there are those who give and know not pain in giving, nor do they seek joy, nor give with mindfulness of virtue. They give as in yonder valley the myrtle breathes its fragrance into space. Through the hands of such as these God speaks, and from behind their eyes he smiles upon the earth. It's well to give when asked, but it's better to give unasked, through understanding. And to the open-handed, the search for one who shall receive is joy greater than giving. And there is aught you would withhold, and is there aught you would withhold? All you have shall someday be given. Therefore, give now, that the season of giving may be yours and not your inheritors. You often say, "I would give, but only to the deserving." The trees in your orchard say not so, nor the flocks in your pasture. They give that they may live, for to withhold is to perish. Surely he who is worthy to receive his days and his nights is worthy of all else from you. And he who has deserved to drink from the ocean of life deserves to fill his cup from your little stream. And what desert greater shall there be than that which lies in the courage and the confidence, nay, the charity of receiving? And who are you that men should rend their bosom and unveil their pride, that you may see their worth naked and their pride unabashed? Say first that you yourself deserve to be a giver, an instrument of giving, for in truth it is life that gives unto life, while you who deem yourself a giver are but a witness. And you receivers, and you are all receivers. Assume no weight of gratitude, lest you lay a yoke upon yourself and upon him who gives. Rather rise together with the giver on his gifts as on wings. For to be over-mindful of your debt is to doubt his generosity, who has the free-hearted earth for mother and God for father. The brilliant insight that when the tree gives the apple, it doesn't ask for anything in return. I think this is so much of what this poem is also about. Finally, in 3B, to own a poem like this, a time that nature for you was a giver, and you found treasures, and those treasures were magnificent. And finally, what kind of giver are you? Are you a generous giver and therefore a great receiver as well? Thank you.